And Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, and envy consumed her heart. She cried out to Jacob, "Give me children, or else I die." But Jacob's anger kindled. "Am I in the place of God, who withholds the fruit of the womb?" So she gave him her servant Bilhah to build a family through her. And when Leah saw she had stopped bearing, she took Zilpah and gave her to Jacob. In the days of harvest, young Reuben found mandrakes in the field. A deal was struck, the roots of the earth for the rights to the husband. Leah went out to meet him. "You must come in to me, for I have surely hired you." Then God remembered Rachel. He listened to her and opened her womb. Jacob spoke to Laban, "Let my wages be every speckled and spotted sheep." But that night Laban removed the striped flocks and hid them away. So Jacob took fresh rods of poplar and peeled white streaks in them. And the flocks conceived before the rods, bringing forth the speckled and spotted. Thus the feebler were Laban's, but the stronger became Jacob's. Jacob saw that Laban's face was not favorable toward him as before. He called Rachel and Leah to the field. "God has taken your father's wealth." And while Laban sheared his sheep, Rachel stole her father's household gods. He fled with all that he had and crossed the river toward Gilead. But God came to Laban in a dream. "Take heed that you speak to Jacob neither good nor bad." Laban overtook Jacob in the hill country, and the two camps stood face to face. Laban searched the tents, feeling every basket, but found not his gods. Rachel sat upon the camel's saddle, and the idols remained hidden beneath her. Jacob's anger burst forth. "What is my trespass? What is my sin that you hotly pursue me?" They took stones and made a heap to witness the truth. And Laban called it Mizpah. "The Lord watch between us when we are absent one from another." Early in the morning, Laban kissed his grandchildren and blessed them. And Laban departed to his place, and Jacob went on his way. The messengers returned to Jacob. "We met Esau, and 400 men are with him." Greatly afraid and distressed, Jacob divided the people into two camps. He prayed, "O God, you said, I will make your offspring as the sand of the sea." He sent drove after drove ahead, saying, "Appease him with the gift that goes before me." He took them and sent them across the stream in the deep of the night. And Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of the day. When the man saw that he did not prevail, he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh. He struggled with the angel and prevailed. He wept and sought his favor. And Jacob's hip was put out of joint as he wrestled with him. Jacob gasped, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." So he called the place Peniel, "For I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved." The sun rose upon him as he passed, limping but carrying a new name. Jacob lifted his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau was coming with 400 men. He put the servants in front, and Rachel and Joseph last of all. He bowed himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. But Esau ran to meet him and embraced him. He fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. Esau asked, "Who are these?" And Jacob said, "The children whom God has graciously given." Jacob said, "Let my Lord pass on ahead. I will move at the pace of the children." So Esau returned that day on his way to Seir. Jacob journeyed to Succoth and built booths for his livestock. And Jacob came safely to the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan. He bought the piece of land where he pitched his tent for 100 pieces of money. There he erected an altar and called it El Elohi Israel. Now Dinah went out to see the daughters of the land. And when Shechem the prince saw her, he seized her. He humbled her, yet his soul was drawn to Dinah, and he spoke tenderly to her. The sons of Jacob heard it, and they were indignant and very angry. They answered Shechem and his father deceitfully, because he had defiled their sister. Simeon spoke, "We cannot give our sister to one who is uncircumcised." On the third day, when the men were sore, 2 of the sons took their swords. Simeon and Levi came against the city unawares and killed all the males. They killed Hamor and his son Shechem with the edge of the sword. They took Dinah out of Shechem's house and went away. The sons of Jacob came upon the slain and plundered the city. Jacob said, "You have troubled me to make me a stench to the inhabitants of the land." Jacob commanded his household, "Put away the foreign gods that are among you." And the terror of God was upon the cities, and they did not pursue them. There Deborah died, and she was buried beneath the oak of weeping. Jacob set up a pillar of stone, and poured out a drink offering and oil thereon. God said to him, "Your name is Israel. A nation and a company of nations shall comprise you." They journeyed from Bethel, and there was but a little way to come to Ephrath. And as her soul was departing, she named him Ben-Oni, son of my sorrow. Jacob set a pillar upon her grave, which remains to this day. And it happened that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine. And Isaac breathed his last and died, old and full of days. And his sons Esau and Jacob buried him. Their possessions were too great for them to dwell together. So Esau took his wives and his livestock and went into a land away from Jacob. Esau settled in the hill country of Seir. Esau is Edom. These are the chiefs of the sons of Esau, the dukes of the land. It was Anah who found the hot springs in the wilderness. These are the sons of Seir the Horite, who inhabited the land. These are the kings who reigned in the land of Edom before any king reigned over Israel. And Hadad reigned. He defeated Midian in the field of Moab. This is the city of Pa, and these are the habitations of Esau. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, and made him a robe of many colors. But when his brothers saw this, they hated him, and could not speak peaceably to him. Behold, my sheaf arose and stood upright, and your sheaves bowed down. His father rebuked him. Shall I and your mother indeed bow down to the earth? A man found him wandering in the fields, and said, "They have gone to Dothan." They saw him from afar, and conspired against him to kill him. They stripped Joseph of his robe, the robe of many colors. And they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty. They sat down to eat bread, and behold, a caravan of Ishmaelites was coming. They sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver. Then they took the robe, killed a goat, and dipped the robe in the blood. Jacob tore his clothes. I will go down to the grave to my son in mourning. Judah went down from his brothers and turned away into the land of Canaan. But death followed him. And Onan were wicked, and the Lord put them to death. So Tamar remained a widow in her father's house, waiting for a promise that never came. She put off her widow's garments and covered herself with a veil. She sat at the entrance to Enaim, for she saw that Shelah was grown, Yet she was not given to him. He gave her his signet, his cord, and his staff as a pledge. But when his friend returned, the woman was gone, and the place was empty. Judah cried out, "Bring her out, and let her be burned." But she sent him, saying, "By the man to whom these belong, I am with child." Judah acknowledged them. "She is more righteous than I, because I gave her not to Shelah." And at the birth, a scarlet thread marked the line of kings. Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar made him overseer over his house. The Lord was with Joseph, and the blessing of the Lord was on all that he had. But after a time, his master's wife cast her eyes on Joseph. He refused her. "How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" One day he went into the house to do his work, and none of the men were there. She caught him by his garment, saying, "Lie with me," but he fled. He left his garment in her hand and ran out into the street. She laid up his garment by her until his lord came home. Potiphar's wrath was kindled, and he took Joseph and put him into the prison. The iron gate closed, confining him to the place where the king's prisoners were bound. But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him steadfast love. The prisoners' anxiety, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt offended their lord. When Joseph came to them in the morning, he saw that they were sad. The cupbearer dreamed. A vine with 3 branches blossomed into ripe grapes. Joseph said, "Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you. Only remember me when it is well with you, and get me out of this house." The baker dreamed 3 baskets of white bread, and the birds ate them. Joseph answered, "Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head from off you." The fulfillment. On the 3rd day, Pharaoh restored the chief cupbearer to his position, but he hanged the chief baker, as Joseph had interpreted to them. Yet the chief cupbearer did not remember Joseph, but forgot him. Pharaoh dreamed. 7 cows, sleek and fat, were swallowed by 7 ugly and gaunt. He awoke, and behold, it was a dream, but his spirit was troubled. They brought Joseph hastily from the dungeon, and he shaved himself and changed his clothes. Joseph answered Pharaoh, "It is not in me. God will give Pharaoh a favorable answer. The 7 good years are coming, but 7 years of famine will consume the land." Pharaoh took his signet ring from his hand and put it on Joseph's hand. He made him ride in his 2nd chariot, and they cried out before him, "Bow the knee." Joseph gathered grain as the sand of the sea until he stopped measuring. He called the firstborn Manasseh, "For God has made me forget all my toil." The 7 years of plenty ended, and the famine began in all lands. So Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold to the Egyptians. Jacob said to his sons, "Why do you look at one another? Go down to Egypt." So 10 of Joseph's brothers went down to buy grain in Egypt. Joseph was governor. His brothers came and bowed themselves to the ground. Joseph saw his brothers and recognized them, but he treated them like strangers. He spoke roughly to them, "You are spies. You have come to see the nakedness of the land." They said to one another, "In truth, we are guilty concerning our brother." Joseph turned away from them and wept. He returned and took Simeon from them and bound him before their eyes. One opened his sack and saw his money, and their hearts failed them. They emptied their sacks, and behold, every man's bundle of money was there. Jacob cried, "My son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead."
The famine was severe in the land, and the grain they had brought was eaten. Judah said to Israel, "Send the lad with me, I will be surety for him." So they took the best fruits of the land, a little balm, honey, gum, and myrrh. Jacob whispered, "And as for me, if I am bereaved of my children, I am bereaved." The house of Joseph. They came near to the steward of Joseph's house at the gate. He said, "Peace be to you, do not fear. Your God has given you treasure." The man brought them into Joseph's house and gave them water to wash their feet. The reunion and the tears. When Joseph came home, they bowed down to him to the earth. He lifted his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son. His heart yearned for his brother. He entered his chamber and wept there. They sat before him, the firstborn according to his birthright, and they looked at each other in amazement. But Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as any of theirs. The trap and the pursuit. He commanded the steward, "Put my cup, the silver cup, in the sack of the youngest." As soon as the morning was light, the men were sent away with their donkeys. But when they had gone a little way, the steward overtook them. Judah declared, "With whomever of your servants it is found, let him die." The cup was found in Benjamin's sack. Then they tore their clothes, loaded their donkeys, and returned to the city. The trial and intercession. Judah and his brothers fell before him on the ground. Joseph said, "The man in whose hand the cup was found, he shall be my slave." Then Judah stepped near to him and said, "O my lord, let your servant speak. We have a father, an old man, and a child of his old age who is left alone. Now therefore, please let your servant remain instead of the lad as a slave." The revelation. Joseph could not control himself. "Make everyone go out from me." He wept aloud and said, "I am Joseph. Is my father still alive?" But his brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed at his presence. He said, "Come near to me. I am your brother whom you sold into Egypt." The weeping and the wagons. He fell upon his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept upon his neck. He kissed all his brothers and wept upon them, and after that they talked. Pharaoh said, "Take wagons from the land of Egypt for your little ones and your wives." Joseph sent them away, saying, "Do not quarrel on the way." The revival of Jacob. They told him, "Joseph is still alive," but his heart fainted, for he did not believe them. But when he saw the wagons that Joseph had sent, the spirit of their father revived. Israel said, "It is enough. Joseph, my son, is still alive. I will go and see him."
Israel took his journey with all that he had, and came to Beersheba. And God spoke in visions of the night, "Fear not to go down to Egypt." They took their little ones and their wives in the wagons Pharaoh had sent. All the persons of the house of Jacob who came into Egypt were 70. They crossed the horizon, leaving the land of promise for the land of survival. He sent Judah ahead to Joseph to show the way to Goshen. Joseph prepared his chariot and went up to meet Israel, his father. He presented himself to him, and the years of separation vanished in the dust. He fell on his neck and wept on his neck a good while. Israel said, "Now let me die, since I have seen your face, that you are still alive." Joseph instructed them, "Say your trade has been keepers of livestock." So they dwelt in the land of Goshen, apart from the Egyptians. Pharaoh asked his brothers, "What is your occupation?" And they said, "Shepherds." Then Jacob blessed Pharaoh, the shepherd, standing before the king. He said, Few and unpleasant have been the days of the years of my life. So Joseph gave them possession in the best of the land, in the land of Ramesses. But the famine was very severe, and the money failed in the land of Egypt. They brought their livestock to Joseph, and he gave them food in exchange. They said, "Buy us and our land for food, and we will be servants to Pharaoh." Joseph said, "Behold, I have bought you this day. Here is seed for you." But Israel dwelt in Goshen. They were fruitful and multiplied exceedingly. The time drew near that Israel must die, and he called his son Joseph. He said, "Put your hand under my thigh, and deal kindly and truly with me." And Israel bowed himself upon the head of his bed.